Home ownership is a dream out of reach for many young people. Kirsten Eaton, a millennial homeowner, tells Fox that she and her husband had to live with her in-laws to save for a home. Watch.
It's a situation with all the student loans that we have that kind of burden us to live with our parents longer than we anticipated. But we lived in a nice apartment in South Buffalo for a couple of years, saved a ton of money, and then we were able to get like our dream house, which is really great.
Well, they're not alone. This month, the Washington Post found that many millennials are simply living with their parents for years, well into their adulthood, to try and save up money for a house. I want to bring in DeBianchi, real estate president and realtor Sam DeBianchi. This is becoming, I guess, a new normal for these young Americans, but at some point they're going to have to leave the nest. And I'm sure their parents are watching and thinking, please move out. Anyway, but what do you make?
Not my parents.
My parents are like, go.
Not my
goodbye.
parents. I lived at home until my early 20s, and I loved every minute of it because I had a home-cooked meal.
Okay.
But in all seriousness, you know, if you question if you can buy a home or not, obviously you can go through the process, get pre-approved, see if you can. But if there's any question about it, you should rent. And I might be, you know, getting the realtors against me right now, but that's the reality of the situation. However, the plus is that there's a lot more predictability in this year and in this housing market, whereas in years prior, nobody knew where are rates going. We all thought they would hit 5%, even potentially lower last year. They never did. They continued to go up. But this year, everyone is on the fence, or everyone is predicting 6 to 7% for mortgage rates. So what buyers can now do is, if they were renting before, they saved up some money, hopefully, and they could feel a lot more confident moving in and getting that rate, as long as they know that they have to readjust themselves and do the math and make sure it makes financial sense. The other good thing about rates, because mortgage rates really dictate the entire housing market, the other plus is that all of those potential sellers, I don't know if I want to sell or not because I was locked in to my 2%, 3% mortgage rate that was so attractive. Now they know what to expect, and they could not necessarily have this fear of missing out, just like potential buyers as well, thinking, well, what if rates drop? Maybe I should hold. No, now they could feel confident in selling their home, making a pretty penny, and then readjusting to either buy into that new home with that new rate, or, of course, go ahead and rent.
Okay,
and put money
I have a theory.
in the bank.
You know what? I have a theory on this. Okay, and if you can follow this. So we're going to be hearing from the banks on Friday. You know, the banks, they want to lend mortgages to Americans. They're anxious to do so. They need to do business, right? You've also got all of these baby boomers that have been sitting on their properties for the last year because they're like, well, I can't get the price tag I want, so I'm going to wait. Well, I think a lot of those boomers are probably psychologically saying, okay, enough is enough. I'm ready to go to Florida. Time to move. And then you've also got on the buy side, you've got these younger buyers that have been living at home, that have been patient. They're waiting for these rates to drop. Don't you think they understand that they could grab a mortgage now, maybe the price comes down, and then you refi in a year and a half? Because to your point, Sam, you're right. Rates are going to come down.
Right. So obviously refinancing is a potential and is a possibility. But you can't, just like what I was saying before, you can't just have this fear of missing out and saying, well, they'll come down later. No, you have to think of the now. When you're looking for a home, you have to think of the now. What's the price? And instead of focusing on, well, rates might come down, I'll wait, focus instead on how much can I negotiate this seller to come down in price? Because in this market, maybe not potential market, in previous times, in previous years, sellers would put their house on the market and test the market because maybe they were listed for $100,000 more than they should be. But a lot of times they got that or even higher. There were bidding wars. In this market, we're not necessarily seeing that. We're having more serious sellers enter the market, actually wanting to sell and even adjusting their price to be lower to get that home sold. Yeah. So again, buyers, don't just focus on rates. Yes, you can refinance, but focus on negotiating with that seller and getting a deal done, because 9 times out of 10, a seller is still going to be making money, even if they're selling at a discount.
Well, I will say, we got to run, but I will say at least you've got construction and new development that is on the rise. The builders are catching up. The supply chain is better. And, the Fed is going to make moves this year. I think the question is just, how big those moves are going to be. But a lot of people are.
And home builders have a lot of incentives, whether they're buying down mortgage rates or they're helping with closing costs. So go ahead and negotiate with them too. Negotiate with everyone.
That's my point about the banks. I'm telling you, they are anxious to start to cut those loans out. So we'll see. Anyway, Sam, thank you so much. It's always great to talk to you about real estate. I want to remind everybody, make sure to watch my show, American Dream Home. It is streaming anytime, all 3 seasons right now on Fox Nation.